I think we will. Yeah.
Good.
All right, I'm going to open the meeting and let me get my language up. All right. Greg, is Michelle not joining us? Should I take the rough minutes and she'll fill them in from there?
Her plan was to take them from the video. She was told by Barbara that that's permissible, so she's just going to take them from the video after.
I'll conduct the roll call and all that, so just for formality. All right. Pursuant to Mayor LaChapelle's May 19th, 2021 mayor authorization, in accordance with Massachusetts 940 CMR 29.10, this meeting of the Easthampton Board of Public Works will be conducted via remote participation. We'll start off with a roll call. Actually, Steve, I apologize. I didn't have your last name written down.
Litwin, Lytwyn.
So Thomas Malsbury, myself, present. David Fagnan.
Present.
Steve Litwin.
Present.
All right. I'm going to make a motion to open the Board of Public Works meeting for October 6th at 5:02 p.m. via remote participation. Could I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor? Myself, Thomas Malsbury, yes. David Fagnan?
Yes.
Steve Litwin?
Yes.
All right. Meeting is open. First item on our standing agenda is public speak. Looks as though we don't have any members of the public joining us for this Zoom meeting. I'll move on to our second standing item, mayor speak. I don't believe the mayor is joining us this evening, and if so, she would just be for the intersection discussion, I believe. So we will quickly move on to item number 3, approval of the September 15th, 2021 minutes. Dave, did you get a chance to take a look at those?
I did not see those at all, no.
Oh, no, Steve, I'm sorry, I meant Dave. You wouldn't be voting on this since you weren't at the meeting. Dave,
Yes, I did get the chance to look at them. Yeah.
any edits, or would you like to approve them as received?
Well, I guess I'm not exactly sure what is or is not supposed to be in the minutes, because towards the end of the VHB presentation, I brought some issues up with, I'm a little concerned with the process of this.
Okay. Yeah,
And
we can check into
I
that.
remember the conversation we had, and I don't see anything in the minutes about that whatsoever.
Okay, we will revise them and
Yeah, and there was some back and forth, and the planner and the mayor talked about the funds they have, the cannabis funds they have available. I don't see any of that mentioned in there whatsoever.
I agree. So we will have them revised and we will continue their approval to our October 20th meeting.
Yeah, I thought they were a little light,
I
the
concur.
minutes. Yeah.
All right, so a motion to continue the approval to our October 20th meeting.
I will second that.
All right, all in favor? Thomas Malsbury, yes. David Fagnan?
Yes.
All right, and Steve will not be voting on that. Thank you. Item number 4, the abatement request letter regarding Wendell Ave. Dave, do you want, or Greg, do you want to give us a little background on that? The board was forwarded the letter to review, so.
So we received a request from Paul Turbin, the owner of, I believe it's 7 Wendell Avenue, to remove the lien fees from his water sewer account that were put on there because the water sewer bill was not paid. If they're not paid by September 1st, $60 lien for water and a $60 lien fee for sewer is applied to the account. As of September 1st, he had not paid those, so the process was followed as it correctly, and his account was, a lien was placed on the property for $276. I believe $176 of it was his past due water and sewer usage, and $120 in fees, 60 water, 60 sewer. He's requesting that the board remove those lien fees because he was unable to get to Easthampton to pay his bill. However, he could have paid it online. He could have mailed a check prior to September 1st. There's multiple avenues available to get a utility bill paid here in town. And were you able to read the letter he wrote? I can read the letter that he sent if you'd like.
Yeah, why don't you just read it for the record?
Sure. His letters dated September 7th, 2021 from Paul Turbin, uses an address in Jacksonville, Florida. It says, Dear Board of Public Works of Easthampton, I would like to first introduce myself. My name is Paul Turbin, a U.S. Navy veteran who served from 1975 after graduating from Easthampton High School until my military retirement in June 2006. My parents lived at 7 Wendell Avenue. My father, Henry Turbin, passed away in January 2019, and my mother, Janet, passed away in May of 2020. My brother, Jeff, and I are now the owners of the home at 7 Wendell Avenue. My brother, Jeff, lost his short-term memory in 2020 and is in a nursing home. Due to COVID-19, I have not been able to return to Easthampton. I'm requesting that the Board of Public Works remove all lien and associated fees from this account. I have sent payment of $176 to City Hall. I'm truly sorry for not taking care of this sooner. I also request that the water bill be put in my name and it be sent to my address in Florida. Honestly, I figured I would be notified by phone if it was overdue too long, as I had given my name and cell phone number to the city clerk. I always planned on paying the bill. Your assistance in removing the lien and associated fees would be greatly appreciated. Sincerely, Paul H. Turbin.
Okay. I'll put this to the other board members. Do you wish to entertain the abatement request?
I know the family, so I think I'm going to have to recuse myself from this.
Okay. All right. So
I didn't know anything about this, but
no, understood.
yeah.
This is why it's good to have a third board member.
Yes.
Steve, do you have any feelings on the abatement request as presented?
You're talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I did have a chance to read it earlier. Like Greg stated, there are several avenues in paying it,
Mm-hmm.
but it is a two-way street too, where if he did give his contact information and he was getting close to the finish line, and perhaps, as a goodwill gesture, especially for a veteran, that perhaps the city of Easthampton could have reached out to him too, particularly being a distance away down in Florida.
Steve, I understand what you're saying. We don't have the staff to call people and tell them that their bills are past due. We have processes in place that the collector's office follows that really limit our ability to collect on past due water and sewer bills. Now, I do appreciate this resident's military service and the situation that he's in. However, had he truly contacted the city clerk's office, he would have been forwarded to the collector's office to have his information, mailing address, and contact information updated. I do not believe that any call was ever made to the city clerk's office. I did inform him of the date and time of this meeting, and he is not here. So that being said, I really strongly caution the board against granting an abatement here, because we will be setting precedent to allow further requests for abatements of this type to be granted.
Well, I understand. Thank you for clearing that up. It's my first time here, so I'm sure I have a lot to learn.
These aren't fun situations to end up in for any of us. I mean, I've myself had to go to people's houses and leave notifications on their doors for like the out of town residents where we can't lien their property and we have to threaten to shut off their utilities. It's not a fun thing for us to have to deal with, but it is kind of the one of the less it's certainly one of the less fun parts of operating public utilities. However, we these processes are here for a reason.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I understand and I feel for the extenuating circumstances, but we do have to stick with our established regulations on this. So I think I'm going to agree with Greg and for this instance, make a motion not to grant the abatement pending any, I mean, we'll have his updated, he's requested that the city update the mailing address, so we'll have the lorry do that. But as for this, we'll stick with this established regulation. So I'll make a motion not to approve the abatement.
Make move not to.
If you agree, and you can second that. If not, you don't have to second it if you don't agree with the decision, and we'll be at a stalemate for this at this point. So at this time, Steve, do you wish to second my motion, or
Yes, I'll second your motion. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Then we will take a roll call vote on that. Myself, Thomas Walsberry, yes. Steve Litwin,
Yes.
all right, and David Fagnan is.
I'm recusing myself from this one.
So you'll abstain from the vote, yeah.
I will abstain.
For
Yes.
the record, yeah.
Yeah, for the record, yes.
All right. I guess please have billing update his address and send out a revised invoice.
I believe that's all already happened. So
Okay. All right, we are going to move on to number 5, Parsons Ferry Street intersection design option, continued discussion.
Yep.
All right, so I'll put this in the hands of Jeff and Van. Van, would you like to have ability to present? Or Jeff?
I would defer to Van if you're able to share your screen. I'm not equipped today. I'm on a different computer.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, that would be good if I could share my screen. Not sure because of new member, if you want me to go over some of the options again, or do you want to just get into the discussion of the stakes that we put out for
I think for all parties involved and for anybody watching the stream, a quick summary would not be bad of not obviously not the large presentation, but just sort of the 3 options we're considering. So
sure.
When we do get to the discussion of the stakes and the viewpoint, they'll be a little bit more accessible.
Okay. Let me just get the bear with me. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes, yeah.
So just quickly, the first concept here, we are shifting Parsons Street at the intersection of Ferry Street. Just trying to, this is concept 1. Easterly. In doing so, we're gaining intersection site distance to the left. Currently, there's where Parsons Street intersects with Ferry Street, there's limited site distance. The existing ISD to the left is about 155 feet. This concept here shifts, I guess, Parsons Street to the east, and it provides 209 feet of intersection site distance. The desired site distance for the speeds along Ferry Street at this location would be about 335 feet. The obstruction along Ferry Street looking to the left is an existing retaining wall. So this is option 1. I'm just going to go back to option 1. This option here, we provided 2 13-foot travel lanes. In each one of these options, we made a little minor adjustments between the travel lanes, adding shoulders and a median. The reason being was just to provide the city with some more options and looking into how Parsons Street could be, the typical section could be shown, just so that we didn't provide like up to 10 or, we could have 10 options here if you really wanted to get into it. But in this option here, just understand that there's 2 travel lanes and they're 13 feet. And in this, I'm just going to go back again. So in this option also, we relocated a utility pole. And the reason being was we wanted to look at relocating the pole, keeping the pole where it is, or actually there was 2 options where we're keeping the pole as it is. And the reason that, this utility pole and moving or keeping in where it exists today, it's an expensive change to, take this utility pole and move it. So option 2, we provided a median and we kept the utility pole within that median. In doing so, the ISD for the existing condition, as stated earlier, is 155 feet. In this case here, our proposed intersection site distance to the left is 192 feet. Again, just so we didn't provide numerous options, this option here, we provided 11-foot lane entering the intersection with a 5-foot shoulder, then exiting Ferry Street, we provided a 16-foot lane. Option 3, we retain the utility pole. So Parsons Street moved further to the east. This situation or concept, we had 2 or 12-foot lanes in each direction with a 2-foot shoulder. This option or concept is providing 206 feet of intersection site distance looking to the left. The difference between this concept and the other concepts is it's impacting the property of now or formerly the Dupree, Nicholas and Betty Dupree. In each case, all concepts, we were improving pedestrian curb ramps or wheelchair ramps. We're providing crosswalks on Ferry Street on both sides of Parsons Street and also a crosswalk on Parsons Street. That gives a general description of each one of the concepts. Any questions?
Yeah, may I ask, what is the situation that we're trying to improve on? What's the cause for all of this? I know I'm behind the 8 ball, but I'm not really clear on what we're trying to get at.
So I'll start off with concept 1. Currently, when you pull up to Ferry Street from Parsons Street, and if you're looking to the left, the visibility, it's you only have about 155 feet of intersection site distance looking to the left.
Okay.
So the desired site distance for this intersection would be 335 feet. In order to do that, you'd have to shift Parsons Street to the east considerably. But you have a home here, really don't want to move the road any further. And the further you move the road, it's going to have more implications on homes to the south. What's causing the site distance issue is there is a retaining wall that is adjacent to the roadway that runs westerly on Ferry Street, about 285 feet. I think the exact length of the wall is 282 feet. And the wall ranges in height from about 1.5 feet to about 3.5 feet. The road also is, when you're looking to the left or westerly, is going downhill. So that also has some impact on the site distance. So the road, we're trying to move the road so we can gain a little bit better site distance than what's out there today, without impacting the wall in each one of these three concepts. And as mentioned, in each one of these concepts, we are providing crosswalks for pedestrians for each one of the legs or approaches at this location.
All right, thank you very much, Van, for clearing that up. Now I have an idea what you're doing.
Okay.
Can I add to that too? Is that okay?
Sure.
So, and I think that's a very great response that Van had too. And I think if you, a little bit of the broader view of what brought us, to that intersection to begin with is, looking at we had the Mass Works grant for the improvement to the Pleasant Street, Ferry Street intersection, and that's part of supporting the redevelopment of Ferry Street Mills. So, one thing that's really important for us to all understand is that they have one building open of 7. And so the Ferry Street redevelopment plan is a 10-year sort of, phased project that will significantly increase the traffic in the area. And so what we're trying to do is be ahead of that curve and be prepared for, that type of increase in traffic in that area. And one thing that, we do often is we try to look at intersections or improvements and we try to match it with funding sources. So the Mass Works was a perfect match to support the redevelopment of the mills. Going up Pleasant Street the other direction towards the mills, we had some shared streets funding from Mass DOT where we added a couple rectangular rapid flashing beacons for pedestrian safety on that side. And as we look to this side, the Parsons Street neighborhood, there's an opportunity to use some cannabis money based on the increased traffic generated from one of the dispensaries. And so in a focused area in that neighborhood, we're trying to focus on these more historic neighborhoods and the intersections that are really problematic. And so from a broader perspective, that's why we're focused over here. And just the one last little tidbit is that all of the neighborhood on the left side of the screen here, left side of Parsons, we're using community development block grant funds to investigate the underground infrastructure because it's all originally built. It's all original from when the buildings were built to support the mills. And that'll also include curbs, sidewalks, and handicapped accessibility. So we'll be looking at that neighborhood for the next few years for making improvements. And so this is all kind of to draw, a large circle around this whole neighborhood in town. And we are taking things off lists. So this intersection has some problems that were identified in our complete streets priority plan. So the pedestrian crossing for Parsons and Ferry, and then the line of sight was identified. So that's kind of the broader view is what kind of is bringing us here now.
Okay, thank you.
One question I had after last meeting's discussion was, I believe if you can see in these diagrams that I guess all the underground utilities still run on the alignment of Old Parsons to Ferry. Is there any thought or benefit to addressing those before we improve I guess I'm asking what's the age of the sewer and water pipes if we're going to be putting a new intersection askew across them?
If you're asking me, I'm not aware of the age of the underground utilities in this area. Right. The underground utilities, though, will, I'm just going to zoom in.
Yeah,
Will remain within the right of way. The right of way is going to stay
right.
in this location. The only thing that will change is like the drainage is going to have to shift. But I'm not sure if, if the water or the sewer needs to be upgraded here. I think Greg might have a better answer for you on that.
I just know we have a couple other areas where we're getting money to do street level work, and we're tackling the underground issues at that time, as well as to not have them trapped under improved work. So
I was just going to say, a lot of this work is being shifted, or the street's being shifted to an area there where there's less underground utilities.
Right.
And the underground utilities are going to be in a grassed area. So if it would be a little bit easier to work with, and you don't have to worry about the road in this area, but the road, that's just a short section. You still have from just in this concept alone, from this section here down, would still be underneath new pavement.
Right. That was my concern.
If you want, if I could add, I mean, the water mains that are there are older. There's some of it's AC, so there's some cast iron. I believe there's 2 water mains in that area, Ferry Street. They're older, but they're not ones that, we're not getting called over there like we were, say, for Cherry Street with the sewer broken all the time. So now we probably will tonight, now that I said that, but.
No, I just didn't want to complete this work, and then as part of the CDBG investigation, find out that the whole area needs improvement. So just a thought as to, what's where and when we need to tackle it. But if that's not on our highest priority list, that's good. Good to hear.
Dan, your estimated cost that we went through last month, do those costs for the 3 options include the 2 of them that have to relocate the utility poles, or is that a separate cost?
So I'm just going to go to the spreadsheets for this. So the first one, yes, that includes the cost of the relocating of the pole, and it's an estimate based on experience with other jobs. That's kind of why the cost here is a little bit more expensive than the other ones. The other 2, the utility pole is being retained, so there's no impact on the cost of that utility pole. Mm-hmm. But yes, the first one is a little bit more expensive because of the utility pole.
All right. Yes, thank you. Greg, option 2 has that island in the middle there, right?
Yeah.
Does that affect snow removal at all?
Yeah, I don't think I'm not the biggest fan of option 2.
I'm not either. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can consider option 1 or 3. I think the idea would be if the board is able to agree with one of these concepts, we can begin moving that forward. I mean, none of this work is going to start tomorrow. So that being said, I would also ask VHB for a scope and fee to explore how far we need to move the wall back, and then how tall the wall will need to be to get us to that 335 feet. And then I think we can look at how much that study work will cost, and look for a funding source for that, and then maybe try to marry the 2 options together into one project.
This was partly what I was getting at last time, is we're looking at
it's hard to make it perfect. I mean,
right.
For the sake of conversation.
I mean, you can throw money at it and make it perfect. I totally understand that. But these are imperfect solutions to this to this problem. And
Yeah, and I think
that
unfortunately,
that seems to me like throwing money at it also, to throw money at an imperfect solution. So
well, we're able to use
that's kind of what
cannabis.
I was trying to say last month. So
Before this intersection, given its proximity to INSA, we're able to use cannabis funds, and it's not funds that we can use on other projects in other parts
so
of
should we
town.
waste those funds? I mean,
Well, I would wholeheartedly disagree with this being called a waste of
yeah.
those funds. I mean, we are making an improvement. And like I said, we're not going to
It's
move
also
forward
not
with this
my
work
decision, it's
tomorrow.
my opinion. So
I just want, can I just add something too? Because I think, David, you're kind of hitting the nail on the head, which is good. We have to hit the nail on the head and hit it a couple of times and talk this through. But, you know, the thing I think that we should also all be aware of is that if we have this opportunity to explore this now, so I would agree with Greg, it's not a waste of money. The reality check that I think we all need is that if we don't do anything now, we will be back here in 5, 6, 7, or 10 years, and we'll be revisiting this intersection, and we'll all have looked back and said we didn't even explore it when we, like, everyone's kind of focused on this now. And I think one of the conversations I wanted to have with VHB and Greg is that we have a scope of work for taking this concept. You know, originally we didn't know the line of sight was so constrained, so we got to this point. And so we're not all the way done with our budget for the intersection concept. So one of the things we want to try to do is, with our current budget, can we reprogram some of that money and explore the wall for a little bit, and then we need to find out how much it will really cost to look at the wall. I think we need to investigate that to really know what kind of picture we're looking at, you know, moving forward, and whether it's 3 months from now. You know, at that point, we probably would have enough information to really make a decision whether we want to go forward or not. I think it's a little premature. I think we can explore the condition of the wall, understand how much behind the wall needs to be changed, and we can, Van, you know, I think we need to talk about the budget that we have, but we might have enough with VHB right now to pivot to look at the wall a little bit more and understand the costs before we give up, because I think that's one of the only unfortunate options here is we all kind of walk away not really knowing any of the answers. And so I think we don't want to do that yet, because I'm fearful, you know, I'm a resident in town and I've driven this intersection a lot. I'm fearful that in 10 years, when that mill is redeveloped, and if we get other redevelopment happening, this intersection will still be a problem and it can be worse. So that's I think now is the time to explore it a little further, perhaps.
And we have funding remaining in the budget for this design that can be reallocated towards the wall. I just need to look into what type of, how far you guys really want to go with looking into the wall. So if we could talk offline on how far you want to look into the wall. I think, that can easily be done with what we have for our design fee, or the remaining of our design fee now.
Well, Van, I think the question we need to get answered is how far does the wall need to move back?
Oh, so I marked in the field where the wall would need to get moved back, and that's for the sight distance. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So the wall starts right about in here, this area here, and the fence is like right here, and then the wall starts. I marked in the field that the wall needs to go back 5 feet from that location. And then I went down to the utility pole, which is here. And then at that point, the wall would have to go back 6 feet. And that would give you enough room for 335 feet of the desired intersection sight distance. So the wall would then extend, and there'd be like a small section that would be left of the wall. And at that point, you should probably just replace the whole wall.
Yeah.
Now, that said, that's just for sight distance. If you ever wanted to put a sidewalk on this side or the curb that we were talking about, it may need to shift back a little bit further. If you're adding a sidewalk, it would definitely have to shift back. But just if you're adding just some sort of curb, because right now the wall is like right next to the pavement, and there's kind of no distinction of where the road ends and where the wall starts. It's just, it would be nice if you had some sort of curb there to understand that, like, that's the edge of the road. So, you know, if you're ever to consider putting sidewalk along this side as well, because I know that was a discussion at one point, then the wall would need to move back another 5.5 feet from those measurements that I was talking about.
So now you'd be about 11 feet back from where it is. I mean, we'd be taking a lot of property from the people.
Yeah, and it does go uphill to an extent. So the wall would not be 3.5 feet. It would be considerably higher.
I think, Greg, something that you had asked the group generally was if we picked an option, or if I had a little bit of insight on option one or three, that might give us the guidance we need to look at the wall. I mean, I'll just throw in there that the sidewalk was not the highest priority.
There is a sidewalk on the other side.
Right. Yep. And I think the pedestrian improvements are good, the crosswalks. So I think that satisfies that need. I think the only question would be a curb, but you know, I think if we can figure out the preference on 1 or 3, and then kind of take some steps moving forward to look at the wall. You know, Greg, I guess one thing that came up on Facebook, and this is just something which we can just talk about quick maybe, but a lot of people are throwing out the idea of a mirror, and I was just kind of curious your take on that. I know it's come up before, but I didn't know what your take on that was.
Yeah, convex mirrors are not a solution in the manual of uniform traffic control devices. We don't use them in town. We cannot begin installing. One person's perception of the reflection of a mirror in another person's can be very different and lead to probably a situation at this intersection that's more dangerous than it currently is. So there's a multitude of reasons that they're not used in modern design. Van, maybe you could add. I mean, if you,
I'm just going to concur with what you've already said, Greg. I mean, it's just looking at a mirror, one person's going to see it as totally different than maybe the next person. So,
okay. And at night, it's probably difficult at night too.
Yeah, you know, you could, the way your vehicle's pointing, your headlights could, you know, flash off of it and cause some sort of other issue, depending on the height of the, you know, the way, you know, vehicles are coming up the hill from Ferry Street. I don't think it's going to help you out at night at all. Because there's been situations where that's actually happened, where an uphill situation, the light hits and reflects off that mirror and, you know, flashes down a side street.
I can see that. Yes.
Yeah.
so
responsibilities. No, that may not be the right word, but to the Mr. Copen and the Dupreys, the adjoining landowners.
what would they be? I've talked to Nick about it a little bit, and
yeah,
you know, without having a concept that we're kind of you know, look harder at, it's hard to say how much of their property we'd be looking to get the easement through, but he, you know, understands that it's not the greatest intersection to pull out of.
Yeah.
But, and it sounds like he's willing to work with us on it.
Okay. All right.
And I think your other property owner you mentioned, I mean, I think once we know more, you know, it would be, the property owners would be compensated the fair market value of any land that we would have to potentially take for it. But I think it's a little premature to know whether we even want to go in that direction yet, but I think we would definitely have to reach out to, it's both of those for at least the first two, if not the whole row of properties on that side.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a feel for the process, because I don't know. So, yeah. Thank you.
So I guess the question kind of remains, is there a concept, one or three, that the board's more comfortable with? And, we can take a little bit of a harder look at that concept and then start gathering some more data and research on the wall and what the wall will have to be to get us to that 335 feet, and then, attach a cost to that.
My initial feeling was one, just because it had the longest distance.
I agree. My first choice would be number one for that reason, and also it minimizes the taking of public property or private property. But also I would prefer to see, like I had originally said last meeting, if we could work up number one with an alternate option for, partial wall removal and then full wall replacement, to gain those sight lines. And I also agree, I don't think this would be an area where sidewalks on both sides of the street would be cost effective with the improvements to the crosswalk. So I would be happy to, use number one as a base and then explore some options around that.
The only reason for clarity, the only reason I brought up the sidewalk as, 7 years down the road, it would be great if we put in a sidewalk here or something like that. So that's the only reason I brought that up.
I mean, if in your exploration you want to put, X number for a second sidewalk, and we can evaluate that and say whether we think that's worth it to future Easthampton, we can, but I think we're going to be spending enough on this that's probably not a request we're going to entertain too seriously. So, but if it's just another line item for, scaling it back another 5 feet, we can have that as an option.
With the crosswalks that I see, are there crosswalks there, or are these going to be placed there?
Are there crosswalk? Do you mean, are there existing crosswalks?
Yes.
Yeah. Are all three of the proposed crossings replacing existing ones, or is there only the crosswalk across Ferry and one across Parsons, as I recall?
I believe now there's one across Parsons here. I don't think, unless it's poorly marked, there might be one on this side. Let me
No, there's only one. There's only one across Ferry.
Yeah, I don't think there's one here, because there's no ramp on this corner.
Yep. There's just the one across Ferry. So I guess that's where we see some pedestrian safety improvement. Yeah,
actually, I'm looking at your photo now. There's no crosswalk at Parsons, just the one across the corner towards across Ferry. Yeah.
Now, would they have safe access on both ends of the crosswalks on Ferry Street if you don't have a sidewalk on one side?
Well, there will be a small wraparound on the westerly side, just to the crosswalk.
It's right here. So the sidewalk will end right here and then wrap around and extend to the existing sidewalk down Parsons.
And what type of signaling will you be using for the pedestrians so they could cross safely? Is that what the yellow designates there?
No, the yellow is just designating the tactile warning strips.
Would there be any kind of, lighting or cross now? I'm just thinking of something like the past situation that happened by AIC in Springfield this past summer, where we're providing the crosswalks in Ferry Street is sort of busy, it's going to get busier. Just having a crosswalk, maybe without any designation that you can cross safely now, might be something to consider.
Typically, your rapid flashing beacons at crosswalks are utilized at mid-block crossings. These crosswalks are set further back. I mean, you could include an RFB at this location, but I would, if you were to do so, I would have the flashing beacons on one side and one side here, and then for across, I wouldn't double it up here. But I mean, this is pretty much far back where at intersections like this, when you're looking to the left or the right, and then you make that move because you've already looked that other way, and then someone pushes the button to get across the street for the RFB, that vehicle has made its decision already, and the person might start walking. And it's such a short distance here that sometimes it creates like a trap.
However, Steve, just so you know, an RFB is a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. That's what we have on Cottage Street.
Thank you. Thanks, Van.
So, I mean, they could be added. We might want to just push it further down, but you have
driveways.
You have driveway here, a driveway here, a driveway here, a driveway here, a driveway here, and before you know it, it's further down here, and then it would be in front of this house, and that it's going to be in front of these homes as well. But if you could see here, then the right of way is tight, and now you have to put in a walk and the actual pedestal for the RFB, and so you're going to probably take another easement here. And then on this side too, you got to consider that as well. But it looks like there's some room behind the sidewalk to put in the pedestal for the RFB. I know there's a wall in this section here, a small wall, more of it's not like really holding back anything, but the fence is sitting on top of it. It's something we could look into.
Could that be incorporated in one of the studies that you're looking at?
Yeah, that's simple to add. It's just there's a typical cost to them that we could just include.
Okay.
Typically you wouldn't put it across the side street. I'm not particularly 100% familiar with what happened at AIC, but I'm not sure what road it was on, but was that on State Street?
Yeah, I believe it was one of these, maybe it was State Street. I think you're right. And apparently an employee of AIC was in a crosswalk, and it was just a crosswalk. And unfortunately, she got hit and died. And now the city of Springfield has been down there during the summer, retrofitting that crosswalk with every imaginable design that a crosswalk needs. So, I always kind of feel, why not, pre-plan instead of doing the post-planning.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about the area. I did hear that they were looking into proposing a hawk, which is something totally different than RFBs. Mm-hmm. But usually in the case of a hawk, it's 2 lanes in each direction. And I'm not familiar where on State Street it is, but most of State Street is 2 lanes in each direction.
Yeah, I think it is on State Street, right by one of the main buildings of AIC. I think it was the president's secretary.
But no, we could look into RFBs at this location.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
So, Van, can we look at moving forward with concept 1? Can you get us or give us a rough idea, not now, but in time, of what moving the wall and what the cost will be to really explore that, and attach a cost to replacing the wall?
Sure.
And pairing it with the first concept.
Yes, we can do that.
Greg, do we need to officially vote on that suggestion, or is this more of an informal exploratory process at this point?
I'd like to think it's more of an informal process, but I don't think it would hurt to have a vote on record that we discussed it and the board was most comfortable moving with concept one. As I said before, we're not sending this work out to bid, tomorrow. So,
all right, and this will be something that will continue.
It'll be back in front of you guys before it's going. Shovels are hitting the ground. That's for sure.
Okay. Are you, Steve and Dave? Are you comfortable with that decision? If I
Yes.
make a motion?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right, then as I will make a motion to recommend the exploration of option number one with some alternatives for further discussion. Can I get a second?
I will second that.
All right, all in favor? Tom Malsbury, yes. David Fagnan,
Yes.
Steve Littlin.
Yes.
All right, we
Great,
look
thank you,
forward
guys.
to seeing this progress.
Thanks,
Thank you.
man.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Jeff.
Mhm.
Bye.
Thank you, Van.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. I think we are on to item number 6, director's report.
Okay, so I'll try to keep it short. So most of what we have to talk about tonight is Main Street. As I'm sure you've seen, Warner Brothers completed the milling Monday and Tuesday.
I'm
Surprises.
living
I'm sorry.
I'm living it.
Yeah, I mean it could be
No, it's
worse
all
though.
good. It's all good.
Yeah, it wasn't too backed up, right? I mean, I drove through several times and it seemed like they were moving through, and
I could not agree with you more.
it
Yes.
was. I mean, the rain didn't help with some of the areas that didn't have any blacktop kind of blowing out a bit, but
Mhm.
it's done, and it was surprising to see how little blacktop was actually there. They were through to McAdam in a few spots. The gravel on the side streets was, I mean, we didn't mill off a whole lot, and to get to dirt, it was maybe 2 inches of pavement in a lot of spots. So,
Mhm.
so that work is moving along nicely. The tentative schedule now is to have the leveling course on next Wednesday. So that'll be great. It does look like that entire project will be completed before winter sets in. So
Cool.
they'll be moving forward with, I believe there's 28 ADA ramps for all the crosswalks. They think they can do 5 a day. So, do that math. There's probably about 3 more weeks of work out there between getting all the ramps done and structure adjustments, water gate box replacements. But it's good to see it moving along. A lot of work's gone into getting that project to come to fruition. So there will be some tree removals happening. We had a hearing for the removal of I believe there's 6 trees altogether. We have spoken to a couple residents that were concerned about trees being removed at the corner of Main and South, and 2 trees at 278 Main Street. So at Main and South, the tree warden's working out a list of good species of trees to plant there that won't get as big or lead to a line of sight issue. And we're going to let the resident pick which species she'd like to see planted there. And same with 278 Main Street. The resident's concerned about the 2 that we want to remove, and we'll allow him to pick from a species of tree that won't grow as big or create such a hazard. These large trees near the road, a lot of them are just getting to the end of their life cycle, and it's a challenge for us to keep them maintained and we want to get some fresh species in there that are going to be a little more tolerant to the salt and not create such a hazard. So it's moving right along. So the highway department just finished a great project on Wilder Avenue. If you have a chance to take a look at it, we've had trouble over the winter. Wilder's way down at the end of East Street, almost near Route 5 junction there. It goes up and around. We've had trouble over the years with water coming down Wilder and freezing at the intersection with East Street. We actually found a catch basin up there that we didn't have on any of our maps, that nobody knew about, and they were able to get that reset, rebuilt, paved around. They put some riprap in, paved the whole circle. It came out really nice. So it looked to me like in the rain on Monday that's going to